Hey guys, welcome to episode 85 of The Green Life. In today's episode, we're going to go back talking about sustainability, regeneration of our soil, and the importance of growing our own food. I have here an amazing guest, Pedro Rocha, who is a sustainability expert, project manager in different communities, bringing communities together to grow their own food, whether they are in a rural area or urban setting. And so it is an amazing conversation. We're going to go and talk a little bit about politics and conflict of interest, and also our need to be accountable for the choices that we make in all aspects of our life. So before we get into this episode, a big shout out to Nama Well for the J2 juicer and C2, a machine that combines the power of this J2 juicer with a fantastic high-speed blender where you can make nice creams and you can make soups and dressing and so on and so forth. And it's a new product and I really love it. And if you want to get yourself one, I have 10% discount in the show notes that you can use. I don't get any kickback for this one. I am an affiliate, however, of Dr. Morse's Herbs. So if you want to use these herbs and learn more about how to, please check in with me, but also use my link and I get a little kickback for that, which helps the channel stay up afloat and cover cost. So thank you for that. I'm also sharing my website and my retreats website here in Portugal. So if you want to work with me or you are interested in coming on retreats, or if you are a practitioner and want to host your own retreats, please talk to me and I'll be happy to help. All right, without further ado, let's get into this awesome conversation with Pedro. Welcome, Pedro. Hello, Pedro. Thank you so much for being on the podcast on The Green Life. I'm really happy to speak to you today. I was really fascinated by the conversation that we had very shortly at the event a couple of weeks ago. But your presentation as well, especially, it really touched me because you went on a subject that I mentioned in the introduction, which is creating gardens and growing food in cities for people that perhaps don't have land, but they can still come together and do it. So before we get into the subject, though, I'd love for the audience to hear a little bit about your background, your story, how you got into this, and your venture into really creating these kind of projects. And give me a little bit of background about you.
Well, thank you first of all for the invitation. About my background is kind of interesting, maybe, because I was raised with my grandparents, and my grandparents they were small farmers. They had from a baby, I was put inside of a greenhouse with flowers. I don't know if you know this flower. I don't remember the name in English that we use in the 25th of April. That is the celebration of the revolution and the freedom. So this red we call cravo. So I was inside of this
poppy, maybe.
Probably, yeah. I don't know the name in English. And so my grandmother used to produce these flowers to sell them, and also the land that she had was really a sustainable system. We had wine around the field, we had fruit trees, we produced our vegetables, we had animals, chicken, pig, rabbits. We could produce our own compost, we could self-fertilize. So it was really close system. And there I was, as a baby, my grandmother used to take care of me and my cousins, and she had to work. So simply she was taking us with her to the field. We were crying and we were muddy and etc. And but I guess at some point in my adult life, there was a seed there that I could not stop to germinate, because obviously or not, through the time I was raised, to go to school and to have an education, university, this idea you studied, nobody tells you to go and work related with agriculture. So I was at some point more imagining myself going for an artistic life, being a photographer or a musician, which I had bands and I was with my camera, and revealing the photos that I was taking, and really fascinated about that. By some, I don't know, some mystic thing. Someone at the time that I was going to university, a cousin of mine came to me with an opportunity to go and study in Wales. And when I look at that, it was inside, on the top of the table, these two ways: or I'm going to photography, or I'm going to study something related with nature, with the environment. And they had this course in environmental science. Mm-hmm. So, and there I was, after a few weeks, never, considering going away from Portugal. I was receiving a letter from Wales, from the university. Now is the University of South Wales. Before had another name, because there was a merge. They merged the University of Cardiff and the University of Glamorgan. And there I was flying to Wales and starting my journey in terms of sustainability. After that, after the degree, I just did a very conventional approach to the labor market. I was working in consultancy, developing projects for Africa, and I was still a consultant in Cape Verde. And at some point, there was the miracle of becoming a father. And in 2004, I was a father for the first time. And then it struck me. I was faced with this big question that I've been studying environmental science. I've been working for sustainability. And then I was eating, and I was thinking and struggling with the food that I was giving to my child, and saying, I cannot do this. I cannot feed her with that. I know this is bad. I cannot be. And by a combination of different motivations and situations, I decided to become a farmer. That was so as an environmental scientist, I thought, what can I do? And then, well, I can start in the beginning, how we produce food. So first, I will start producing food. So, and that went on until today. It's almost 20 years since that decision was made. And I understood that this 1/3 of the problem in terms of environmental problems is the food systems. And that's where I can act as a father, as an individual, as a professional, and try to create some relevant impact in my short life.
Yeah. Wow.
That was pretty much it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. First of all, shout out to Wales, because it's like one of the most beautiful places in the UK. I love Wales. And also so happy that when you were faced with that choice, you went into this, because obviously listening to you at Serral's, it was, first of all, it stood out because you were the only one on that panel who actually talked about real solutions. Because unfortunately, when it comes to environmental science, I think we have a fork. You have the regenerative folks like us that are like, okay, so the system that we have to use to heal the system is to go back to nature, work with her, and actually be part of it. And then you have the other part that is like, how can we biotech everything so that humans have a upper hand on nature? And that we know never works, but unfortunately, that's where the money goes, and where a lot of the speakers that were on your own panel that day we're focusing on. And I mean, I obviously feel like I didn't have the chance to continue the conversation that I was having, but I remember I asked a question to the lady that was there from Continente, from the group that owns it. Yeah. And she gave me an answer that wasn't completely true, but I didn't have the chance to really go for it. For example, she said that they have programs where they allow people to buy boxes where they have products that are less than perfect. That's not available everywhere. I only discovered that obviously after, because I was gonna ask, well, I've never seen it where I live when I go to Continente, but also, yeah, it's not, their programs of sustainability are really more about meeting, checking lists, right, rather than actually having an impact. But when you came on and you were talking about the solutions you offered and really creating gardens in cities, you actually brought forth the responsibility that we have as humans to be part of nature and create a sustainable kind of environment by being part of it. And I think obviously you align very well with Vandana Shiva, who also came after your panel and had a beautiful speech that she did. And obviously, as always, sharing the very, on point, subjects, especially when it comes to fighting against the big dogs. So what I really enjoyed about your venture, and obviously you mentioned you have been in this for more than 20 years. You were talking about the collaboration you had with one specific company. I know that you now more work like a personal, like a consultant rather than part of the company. But I'd love to hear about that specific project, because I think we can go then and really discuss the solutions that people can have when, because I hear a lot, well, I don't have land. I live in an apartment. So talk about a little bit that project you worked on, and especially the where you implemented the solutions and how they went. And then we can talk perhaps about how people can also get involved and actually, taking these kind of approaches.
Yeah, with great pleasure. No City has been part of my life for the last 9 years. I met Jose, actually could not be the one, he was away. So speaking at the event, when Serralves called me, actually to invite No City, and I said, well, I'm not at No City anymore, so Jose should go, but he could not, so he asked me to go. And I met Jose after I left the project of the farming project. I had a partner, and things went south, went not in the right direction, and I then just left the. It was a partnership that I had, and I left the company, and I met Jose, and well. First of all, No City developed a smart tech easy solution. Okay, that was the starting point. But then we had a group of people, a team, and then for us, what really touched our hearts, it was really to how we can create impact and how we can connect people to nature. We were always, for a long time, saying, okay, we install gardens, we sell gardens, and at some point, we start sorry, because there are some people trying to call me and I need to turn off the...
No problem.
And then some point we start to ask ourselves, really, is that what we do? We sell gardens, we install gardens, and the answer was obvious. It was no, that is not what we do. That is not what we want to do. So what do we want? What do we really want? And that came the thing, okay, what we want and what we believe is the power of connecting people to nature. What we believe is collaboration and community. And if we want to solve this, the environmental problem, if we want to contribute to positive solutions, that is what we are going to do. And that's what we are doing. So then, and I was involved in the development of the service that the city provides. And then we came with the program that we call the Ground Yourself program, using a vegetable garden as a tool to promote connection to nature, connection to others, and others all not only like to other people, to your colleague in the company, no, to all other beings that exist in this planet, from fungi to bacteria to birds, and of course to ourselves, because I think we need to find that our nature is deeply connected to nature and is really cooperative, not competitive. Like a teacher used to tell me, competition exists, of course, in nature, but only with the purpose of co-evolution. Just exists to bring the best out of you, not to put you down. So, and that is good. We compete, but just to go further. And and that was and it is the vision of Nocity. And we started by doing a journey without knowing exactly how to do it. First, installing gardens in restaurants and hotels because it seems more obvious. Working with chefs, and suddenly we start to receive. Nocity started to receive the interest from companies, like technological companies, all type of companies, and from just selling gardens that you could install in your balcony. We started to install bigger and bigger gardens. The biggest one today for Nocity is still at the headquarters of UNESCO in Paris. I think the biggest one will be in Lisbon because there is a project already being implemented that will grow through time, and it will be the bigger one. And we could develop a network of urban farmers that install and deliver this program and have this mission of connecting people to nature in their own cities. Because Nocity and even the word comes from bringing conscience to cities. And it's believed in Nocity that there is a major role being played by cities, because they concentrate most of the people, because they, like the vice mayor of Porto was saying, and I believe that cities, they have scale to create big impact, but they are not so big like the state that has so much entropy that sometimes is really difficult to put things moving forward. And and the city is being there for almost 10 years, looking to create this type of impact.
Amazing. You brought something up that I think is really important to discuss, which is the impact of decision makers when it comes to lawmakers and policymakers, and just the people that really at government level that would offer the opportunity to companies and individuals to create something positive. Unfortunately, and we have to be realistic about this, there is such a big lobby when it comes to from companies. So it's actually quite expected that governments are not going to push very openly anyway projects that are good for everyone at local level as well as national level that might impact the income stream of big corporations, because they have these very, very big ties. And I think people need to understand that and be aware of it and just be realistic. We're not being, we're not trying to be conspiratorial about it. It's just the reality that it is. I mean, we talked about this even as Alps when we talked about the very sad lobby of the dairy industry, for example, and this is a really real fact that happens every single day. So even when it comes to where do we source our food, how do we get our hands on real food, how do we get our hands on food that has been produced in an ecological way that is a positive impact on the nature, it often doesn't actually happen because we have corporations' interest in at play. So how does how is it, how realistic is it for us to think that perhaps local governments like the municipality of Porto, the city of Porto, the city of Lisbon, independently from central governments, could take these projects on and invest in them? And if that's a possibility, where would the funds come from?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I think we need to understand that there are different levels of decision making, and bigger the structure is. And for example, you mentioned the case and the answer of Ondina that represents the club of producers, where she is just a little part of a big, huge boat. So to change the direction of the boat, it's a negotiation at multi levels of decision making, and it's not always easy. Yeah. Now, but another thing, and smaller structures, of course, they are easier. But there is something that I think that is absolutely essential. Yeah, and it makes the big difference. And that is the leadership and the culture that the leadership wants to implement. And there, of course, in the corporate side, companies, this might be a little bit more difficult, because either you have companies that already have the CEOs that have this awareness, this will, this drive, and they see that this is the future, and if they don't go on this path, they will have no business at all in the future, or they simply don't have it. And you cannot change the guy. You just cannot replace the CEO of a company just like that. Yeah. So, because he's the owner of the thing, or in some companies it's possible, but it's not so simple. Now, another thing is, like, if you are talking about public entities like cities, and I'm very fortunate to live in a city that elected independent people, and this has nothing to do with political ideology, right wing, left wing, no. But in terms of the values of sustainability, the will, this drive, it's there. And it has been there for the last three cycles, and that the people need to vote, and to choose correctly the leadership. And even this week I've been working closely with the municipality, because the municipality is very interested to improve the food system of the city. And I'm amazed to understand that the municipality, in terms of hiring services for the canteens in the schools, they are doing a progress that nobody's doing. They are like an oasis in the food system, national food system, but also shows that it's possible. Yeah. And in several meetings with different players of the food system, you listen many times, no, that is not possible. We cannot do that. And we go to the biggest contractor in the city, that is the municipality, that serves 2 million meals a year in schools, etc. And they say, that is bullshit. Of course, we can do it. Yeah. It's written in the law. Of course, that is only excuses. That is not. The only thing that is different is that we put that as a priority, and that's the way to go.
Yeah.
So, like they say, of course, we cannot change everything at once. We are giving small steps since the last 15 years. If you ask, there was a question in Serralves from a guy in the audience that is Pedro Rocha, say, what can we do to speed up? Yes. Yeah, that is the what can we do to speed up?
Yeah.
We have urgency. We need to move faster. But yeah, we need to understand that there is lots of negotiation between all the stakeholders, and yeah, the lobbying comes, yeah. But let's put it in the agenda. Let's be compromised with it. And if you put it there, and that must come from leadership.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, thank you for that. So this is obviously encompassing corporations and public services. When it comes to privates, as in I'm talking about, say, buildings where people that live in a building, they own their flats or rent or whatever, mostly owning because obviously that would be part of maybe the fees they would have to pay for the building. How aware are people that these projects can be implemented in their own building? For example, on a rooftop, they could have gardens where they can source their own food. They can work together as, you know, owners of flats. They can come together, produce. I mean, you mentioned that you have done this kind of work before, and I would like to know what the approach is that, and how aware are people that this is a good investment, and how willing are they to actually spend the money to create this?
That's a very good question. And that is something that I don't know how to solve, because, you know, I've been working in food systems for the last almost 20 years. I met maybe one person that in my life that said, I don't want, no, that is bullshit, sustainability, organic, or that I don't believe in that. One person, you ask everybody, and it's a very strong, it's a consensual thing.
Yeah.
Organic, yes, having their own food, or short circuits of distribution, sustainable farming. Everybody says yes, yes, yes. But there is something that is really annoying. This, people value more this. They pay 1,000 euros for an iPhone or whatever, but they are not willing to pay 600 euros for all year to have organic vegetables at their homes.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
So where, you know, there is a difference, and that is a problem of sometimes the studies and the research that say that measure the awareness, and you do questionnaires, and you see, well, people are changing, but like in psychology, you know, there is a difference to be conscious about a problem and to integrate that problem into your daily life, and that requires work. It's difficult. We are human beings. We have habits. We have addictions. I'm not talking about very bad addictions like drugs or whatever.
No,
But
even the phone is an addiction, really.
yeah, habits. And to change that, we need to work. We need education. We need to train.
Yeah.
You know, even to go to the garden. We have this example with New City installing a garden. People loves it. They are absolutely, it's, you can observe how people feel the joy, and they are excited, and that makes them feel good. And but then they don't go.
Yeah.
Because they are, you know, absorbed by the routine, the usual way of doing things. So if you want to be in shape, you need to go to the gym.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not once a month. You need to go
Every
every
day.
day, a little bit.
Yeah.
You cannot go 1 hour. You do 30 minutes. You cannot go 30 minutes. You do 15, but
Yeah.
you do it every day.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and this requires discipline.
Yeah.
And I think more than we need education, but we need to implement things in our life that really helps to integrate these in our daily life. I talk by myself. I have the little bags that I reuse to go to buy food. Yeah. How many times do I forget these little bags?
Yeah.
Because, but I don't forget to wash my teeth in the morning.
Yeah.
Because it's really integrated. My parents were like a day after day, did you wash your teeth? Did you
Yeah.
wash your... So today I don't think about it. It's just I do
Part
it.
of, yeah.
Practicing sport is the same. I
Yeah.
need to create discipline and to somebody that helps me to keep the motor going. And one day I say, okay, I don't think about it. I simply just do it.
Do it. Yeah.
And we need to find these little things in school, like bring the kids every day to the garden a little bit in the work. That's why I think it's so important to bring such an activity that sometimes is not about the food that you produce, it's about creating new habits.
Yeah.
And we have a colleague that she was on the audience as well, that did for example, education training of people here in the municipalities around Porto. And she has studied the behavioral change of people uh, after educating, training, gardening, and that brings a huge impact. People change. People start to recycle. People start to take care about how they eat. People start to take care how they buy. Yeah.
Yeah. Totally.
But it takes, and we need to invest more on that.
Yeah, and I think it's the public awareness comes also from what is in the mainstream, right? Unfortunately, as much as this is an important subject and it's been talked about, you have to go to a specific conference to hear about it more. You have to buy a specific magazine. This is not something the news will talk about daily, which is, of course, when we talk about something daily, most of the time negative, people just embody it. They have an opinion, they repeat and they parrot, and they create these new habits of even thinking in a certain way without realizing. But the mainstream doesn't offer the platform to actually even talk about these things and be like, hey, we should recycle like if you actually mention on the news the recycling every day, and then you mention how it impacts the environment, and you talk about growing your own food and how it impacts the government. But I guess it goes back to the fact who pays the bills that really set up the agenda that is going to be in the mainstream. So education is extremely important, but unfortunately it comes with us pushing more and more to create that awareness, really a grassroots level, because we can't rely on the mainstream at central level at this point in time. Things may change, but it's unfortunately people are still stuck on having on the value of money. Isn't it interesting though? Because think about it. Food has got so much value. We depend on them, on food to live, to thrive, to be healthy. Money is a piece of paper that we have given value to, and people will fight over it, more than anything else. It's just the most interesting factor of I always observe how people behave, and I'm like, how did we get this far behind?
But
crazy.
We are well, the other day, I don't know if you have been in the Foscoa to see the the pictures that 30,000 years ago we were doing on stone. Yeah. And humans are profoundly creative, and they express this need even 30,000 years ago, with stones in stones.
Yeah.
Drawing horses and cows, and it's so beautiful. It really impacts, and the connection with the landscape. And if we are so creative and we can create, we were creative enough to figure out how to go to the moon, yeah, to put satellites. If we want, if we really look for to create another narrative, we will do it. Yeah. That is the power of human brain and imagination. I always joke that if Jules Verne would not have written the book, A Trip to the Moon, we'd never something starts always with a dream. Yeah. Somebody needs to imagine an airplane so that the airplane will become real.
Yeah.
Without that dream, we will not find a way. So I think we need to dream exactly about a world that Yes, money, we need economy. Of course, economy is natural as well. There is exchange of services, and we humans, we created a nice way to, with the money, to transactions and etc. Yes, yes, all about that. But we can figure out another way. We can figure out another way that we have more time for our kids, that we have more time to educate, that we have more time to be with others, or we can imagine it, keep dreaming about industrial revolution mentality, that we go to the factory, we need produce so we can earn money, and so we can buy, you can buy to earn social status.
Yeah.
But I always have this feeling that we are facing challenges from the 21st century with the mentality of the 19th century.
Yeah.
And we need to jump. We need to
evolve.
We are not in our time. And that is, there is a generational struggle here. We see now the young people fighting for something else. There is resistance because there is this mentality, this culture that is there installed. Yes, but we need to give also the opportunity. And I think the best thing that we could do is to open space for new ideas, new opportunities, for young people to come with different ways of organizing and to innovate socially, in terms of design, sustainability. Let them do the work, because they are, they are already dreaming with another future.
Yeah.
Not with is not the same dream. So give them space so they can create this new world. And I think if we give that, these things start happening faster.
Yeah, totally. I agree with you. Thank you for that. I think it's such a beautiful way to put it into context, but also, you're right. Like, first of all, imagining it so that we can manifest it, then shifting our paradigm, because we have to get up with the times. Everything is changing. We can't live with an old mentality in a new system, with new challenges, I would say, that we created even. And then I really appreciate how this hopefully the new generation understands that as much as we can protest and we can have as Vandana was saying, Friday off and to not go to school and protest about it, you want to make sure that you take actions every single day, and just that we ingrain that in our lifestyle, so that we understand how every little step that we take has got a huge impact, so that ripple effect becomes positive instead of negative. And that takes me to the other question that I had. I mean, you mentioned at the beginning working in Africa as well, and then in the context of no city, we have obviously countries where the challenges of growing food are even bigger, whether because of environmental factors or because of poverty and so economics. But I feel that, again, going back to the policymakers having, keeping certain things in certain countries and certain areas, even within the US, for example, we have, food deserts. Like in a country that is so abundant, we have food deserts where people actually can't access fresh food. It's crazy. So how do we make sure that we actually change that paradigm too? Like, how do we go to places where, traditionally we don't have access to certain things, but actually we have the technology now, we have the knowledge, we have the manpower, even like people like you that are knowledgeable and they're willing to actually create this project. How do we take the focus to those poorer areas? We can help the locals get empowered as well, keep teaching them new skills and making them independent from a system that takes advantage of their suffering in a way.
First of all, we need to stop with the colonization mentality.
Yeah.
I was in Cape Verde, in 2001, in the time of the 11th September. And it was my I was working in Germany for a consulting company for projects that are being financed by World Bank or some financial institutions in Germany, the European Commission. And what was really shocking to me, and then I could observe in Cape Verde, is that we keep trying to colonize those countries. We are going there to take, we are not going there to give. We give nothing. We create these financial systems of support for development, but this is a story that only the people that don't know believe. Because the money comes back. This is a way of self-economic stimulation, you know, the raw materials, infrastructures, you know, watering, etc., etc. But we are not there really to empower the people. You see some very interesting, amazing projects that are, you see, like pilot projects that has unbelievable good results, but then that doesn't get the big money, you know. Then they always need to start for continuity of the project or scale the project, because that is not bringing the enough return, you know. And that is simply not fair. Yeah, we are still trying to colonize, you know, everyone and everything just for our own good. And until we understand that we are all together in the same house, this is just one house, you know, it's just one house.
Yeah,
There's
humans.
no, you know, we are just, well, humans is life, is the project of life. We are not only for us humans, because, okay, let's be all together as humans. Let's give all hands. No racism, no colonization, no oppression, no wars. Yes, but we need the other animals. We need biodiversity. So it's not only, it's about the project of life. Yeah. And we need to quit. And we need to, I'm a privileged guy that was born in a privileged part of the world. And I need to admit, I don't need to apologize for the Portuguese past as an individual, but I need to recognize that we are still trying to colonize with another strategy, you know, just change the branding, the same, but let's keep the power.
Yeah.
And that, yeah, if that changes, yeah, we have a huge opportunity and chance that we will all live good and happy all together. And there are so much that we can do and good. Yeah.
You know, you brought it home for me. I worked on a project in Madagascar in 2009, where the Development Bank of South Africa was sponsoring this company that was established in Mauritius, and then had projects in Madagascar for eel farmings, and the eels would be sold then to Africa, to Asia, because it is a big market. Well, first of all, of course, as a vegan, I wasn't vegan then, but now I'm like, we were exploiting animals for more money. But also noticing how there was nothing given back to the people in Madagascar. They were promoting it obviously as this, a project that would create infrastructure in very rural areas, because there was no infrastructure there. People were living in villages very poorly, and now they would have access to jobs and money, which honestly, peanuts. And then, also noticing these things, like I could not work there more than 6 months. I was like, this is not right. And in fact, actually what happened is that the CEO of the company ended up stealing a lot of money and running away to the UK with the money from the Development Bank of South Africa. And unfortunately, this happens a lot, especially in developing countries, which we don't talk about enough. And again, people, as you say, they're not aware. But then, you also create skepticism when you share these stories, because then there are projects, NGOs that really work hard, they're wanting to do the right thing, and they don't get funding from even the public, because they're like, yeah, you're not doing anything with this. So there's obviously a backlash with this, and it's sad. But I think trust needs to be bought, and I think, yeah, we have to step away from this colonial mindset of we take over places where it's cheaper, we can exploit people, we can exploit the land, and then we just don't give anything back and take until we move on to the next place, because we have depleted the same place we just took over, and there's nothing left for us to take. And so definitely that mentality has to go. I do apologize for my ancestors in a very esoteric way. Like, I'm just like, we have to set this right, and we have to really take responsibility for what they've done. I can't go back in time and change it, unfortunately, but what I can do is create a shift in the future by making better decisions in the present, connecting with people like you that are aware of this, and actually taking responsibility. I remember when during the pandemic, there was this, everybody was putting this black square on their social media about Black Lives Matter, and we have to learn about colonialism. It lasted a day. Like, people were like, oh, we have to read this book. I'm like, can you just stop actually reading books? I mean, great, educate yourself, but also learn the truth, and also understand that your privilege of what we have has come out of that system. So how you go forward is what makes a difference, because you living in the same luxury and not doing anything to impact the situation positively doesn't change anything. It's just you having, basically it's a PR moment. So a lot of people did that, and that was sad for me, and I got really angry about it. As you probably can hear from my tone, I'm very passionate about the subject, but I want to bring forth the solutions. And so I think I want to segue into this. We have obviously highlighted that there are challenges at structural level for everything, but I would love to talk about how can we bring solutions to people that perhaps want to do these projects at a grassroots level, and or even they want to say, I want to create something that can impact my country, especially countries that are small like Portugal. We can really impact much more easily than a massive country like the US, where you really have to do this a local approach, because you can't do it at central level. It's too big. So what are the solutions? What are the things that we can easily implement every day at a personal level with our community, maybe in our building, maybe in our city? What are your best tips that people can take away?
I will, but let me go back with two things.
Yeah.
First, in terms of when I said that I don't feel that I have to apologize, yeah, it's in my lifetime, for my behavior, or I don't feel I have to apologize.
Oh yeah. No.
But as a collective, as a society, yes, I think we have to apologize, yeah, for our ancestors, yeah. That is one. The other thing is, you said, okay, in Portugal, it's a small country. We can maybe it's easier to create impact than in the US. I don't completely agree.
Okay.
We had a good example with COVID that the whole world decided with one man or a couple of guys decided to set the new rules for everybody.
Yeah.
And it went, and they created a huge impact, in many cases with no rationality whatsoever. My kid that would not be in danger of any kind, had to his first day of school to see that his parents cannot go inside of the school. He could not feel safe with people wearing masks, a child with 3 years old, and we were forced for a virus. Yes, okay, blah 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 blah. But we are facing the possible sixth mass extinction problem, and we are talking that, we are a big country, it's difficult to create impact, and the governments, they can set the rules, they can they can change. You know, even today, before you, I was having an interview for a guy that is doing a research. Why do organic farmers need to protect their products and to pack them to be in the shelves of supermarkets? Their product should not be, is not doing any harm to anything. The others should have that. But the rule is that the organic products need to be packed in plastic. Doesn't make sense.
No.
Why? You know, organic farming needs to be certified, needs to have a set of rules. And what is why conventional farming doesn't have these costs and can keep polluting, and we are paying our health, in our environment. So yeah, we can change the rules.
Yeah.
But yeah, at this point, yeah, I really think people need to understand that they are driving the car and they need to put the right vote on the right time in the right people, and not always the same people with the same mentality.
Yeah.
And how can we change that? I don't know. Yeah. Okay. It's easier to work in smaller scales. Yes, of course. Yeah. Can we do that and inspire others? Because I also think that when we are talking about this type of activism and projects, we need to be clever.
Yeah.
You know, to do the right thing, to have good results, to convince others, and to be clever in the way how we communicate.
Yeah.
Because we are not winning people to the cause, let's say like that, if you are making them feel that you are fighting against them.
Yeah.
Because people, they are doing their best, but many times they don't know better.
Yes.
So we need to be supportive, and we need to say, okay, but if I show you a better way, would you be open to learn, to change? But if I go like, oh, you meat eater, or you car driver, or you are taking the plane too much, oh, Vandana, she's taking the plane, she's talking, but we are not going to do it.
Yeah.
We are all together, and at this moment we are living a time that is you or me, you know.
Yeah, you're right.
And this polarity that we live in today, in social media, everywhere, it's crazy, you know. And I don't need to convince you that you are already convinced, but I need to establish a good relation with people that think in a different way.
Yeah, I agree.
And I need to compromise. Many times okay, you are not willing to do this, but could we move forward on that?
Yeah.
And probably I also have a lot to learn with them.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, thank you so much for bringing the COVID example up. I mean, I went straight to that example of smaller and bigger, because I am taking out of the equation the fact that the central level governments or media does the right thing, right? If they did it, as I mentioned before, yeah, we wouldn't even have a problem, right? But of course, I'm aware that this is just not going to happen. Like, yeah, one single man decided that the whole world was shut down, and bloody hell, we did. But that single man that actually also creates more problems environmentally will never say we have to have organic farming take over and local gardens and so on, and that's where the money should go, interestingly. But I this is why I wanted to just give people tips on how they can start themselves. And I also agree with you that especially as when I became vegan, I had a moment of anger against everybody. I'm like, how can we kill animals? Mostly because I went vegan for health. And then I realized what we were doing. And I was like, I love animals. And I lived in the dissonance for so many years. Like when people were talking to me about veganism before I became vegan, I was like, these bloody hippies. Like I was just not open, right? So I come from the other side of the spectrum, so I completely agree. And then I had to bring myself back. I'm like, okay, with judgment and resistance and fighting, I am not going to move the needle anywhere. I'm just going to create more resistance on the other side, because that was me before. So how do I become inspirational rather? So this is why that's my focus. That's the focus of my social media work or my coaching work with nutrition. So obviously my angle is health because of that, but I had to understand and learn it. So I completely agree with you that we have to be inspirational and show people. So I'm going to go back to that question that I asked you about what tips we can give people to actually implement these changes at their own level so that they can inspire others around them.
Yeah, focus on what you can do on a daily basis. Don't worry about the way how airplanes work, trains work, the electricity systems, because don't distract yourself. Look for what you can control. Start with breakfast. Can you have local oranges? Do you have a garden? Can you do something there? When you shop, can you choose between organic or non-organic? Is the organic local or is not local? Yeah. Or is not organic, but is from a neighboring farmer? There is a small farmer's market. Small things that you can control is 1/3 of the all environmental problem. So you can act every day there. You can cause a huge impact. You can organize. Okay, look to your community. What can you do together? You live in an apartment. You have a nice rooftop. Can you bring a vegetable garden? Can you gather a little bit of money to do this? It sometimes doesn't cost a lot of money. So little things, yeah. But but start now, not tomorrow. Now,
now, yeah. Thank you so much. That's brilliant.
But even you were talking, and I was remembering something else. Even the people that are acting. I was involved. The model of CSA, community supported agriculture.
Yes.
The French here, in Portugal we also call AMAP, and in France is a big movement.
Yeah.
And there is an organization that is called Urgency. Urgency is responsible to promote this concept and disseminate this organization, this model, social economical model of relation between consumers and producers. And Urgency is a very small organization struggling with financement and people to work with payment. The community of CSAs, just in France, it's over 2,000 farmers, much more, 500,000 people or families, yeah? And if everybody would contribute with 10 euros to Urgency, they would have a budget of 5 million, only in France.
Yeah.
Only in France. And they don't. And I cannot understand that. Yeah. So I think we need to assume that when we want to create impact, we also need resources.
Yes.
That brings energy to implement projects in an independent way, not being always dependent on. And so we should have the levels of organization and commitments to finance, if I'm willing to pay, it's a couple of beers, come on.
Yeah.
But, and that sometimes is missing.
Yeah.
Okay, they say, oh, you have an idea to change the world? And somebody says, okay, now try to change the world. You have 5 euros in your pocket.
Yeah.
All the best,
Yeah, I know. Very good point.
This is ridiculous. Yeah. And when you have already many times, there is the social support, there is already the community, and you cannot mobilize that. And sometimes I think this is about making a decision in terms of organization that no, we are going to ask money for people. Yes, we are going to ask money. Why? Because with money we can do more. Okay.
No, I totally agree, and I think you brought it home. And we out of time, and I want to make sure that we end with this high note that every single person has the possibility to have a huge impact, and that if we actually start putting the value where the value should be, we can shift things, we can create miracles. And that is something that we have to remember, that we have to stop thinking that just the big corporations or companies or government even should sponsor these things, because unfortunately, as much as sure, that's our tax money and should be spent in a better way, the truth is that we don't have control over it, but we do have control over the option of, hey, you know what, today I'm not going to buy Starbucks coffee. I'm just going to invest into a big project that is going to have a big impact. Because even the fact that if one person puts $1, $5, and we have millions that can be raised, it just shows the power of community coming together. It's a symbolism for what we can do when we come together as people, right?
Yes. I think, Another thing is I think we have been trying to solve complex problems with simple recipes. And we need to embrace complexity. It's complex, so what? Am I going to separate the variables just to make it simple? And I can understand that in terms of our history. Normally I use this metaphor. Before, like 100 years ago, the farmer would put all his vegetables in a big car with his horse to go to the market, but he didn't know if the market would be good or bad, if there would be people coming or not. Today, with technology, we can anticipate and we can read so much information. So you can have, it's much easier, I can be a farmer, and the day before I know if tomorrow is going to be too hot and too humid and I have a probability of disease. I can have my orders in advance, and I know exactly what I need to harvest in my field. I know exactly the car, the transport that I need, when I need, where to go, etc., etc., etc. So it's time, I think, that we really embrace complexity. I think the price to pay is that we cannot get to conclusions straight away. We have to work with more time, but nature needs time. If we are thinking to regenerate nature, to increase soil fertility, we need to start looking to plans that go 50 years, 100 years. We need to to restore a forest. Here in Portugal, we have such a huge problem with the fires. And and the cycles are of fire 10, 15 years. 10 years, the forest is just starting, and it again goes down. So we need to think about 30, 40, 50, and to keep always a permanent research, study, measuring and adapting. This is not so easy.
But it's necessary.
But if we embrace it, and we will accept that we will fail a lot, but we will not disregard all the variables, just because I need to isolate one just so I can get very fast to a result. This is an interdependent system. With
totally.
Thousands of mechanisms of self-regulation and and interdependence. We cannot do that. It's a mistake.
Totally agree with you. Okay, I would love to ask you as a last question, how do you work with individuals? And if that's so, how can we get in touch with you? And I'll put everything in the show notes, but just to know what if your involvement includes also working with, people.
Well, we all work with people. We are people.
I
Uh,
mean, personal.
well, but well, my personal activity is in the consultancy where I support and help the organizations to implement uh, concrete measures, not consultancy to report and say
Yeah.
what is wrong, what you could do better.
Good.
I'm not I'm not accepting that type of work because to stay in the drawer I'm not interested. But yes, to implement more sustainable food systems and to give steps forward, yes, that's and basically with companies, with municipalities, but also education, so training. And this, I don't do it in an individual level, but the consultancy, yes, it can be, for example, there is a chef that recently has come to, because he has a piece of land and he has a project, he wants to develop it. And yes, I can be helpful to implement that project. So in that sense, yes. But normally, I'm in a room passing knowledge and supporting in that level, or in organizations trying to help them to implement measures that can help the food system. This can be, for example, in a company where you can implement a project, how to organize collectively the community, how they can acquire food from local farmers, to get these local farmers to establish these relations between farmers and the people, and to create compromise, organize all the ordering system, etc., etc., etc.
Nice.
Yeah. But yeah, that's it.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. This was such an interesting conversation, and we could probably go on for a long time because it's such a complex but also an expansive subject. But I just think it's great that we scratched the surface, at least with details that people can take on board, think about, and research a little bit more, and then educate themselves. And as we mentioned several times on the episode, taking actions that have a positive ripple effect, and making sure that we understand that we have a responsibility every single day with everything that we do. So I want to thank you for your work. I found you very inspiring before. I find you very inspiring now. And I really look forward to maybe even working together at some point. So thank you so much for being on the show.
I'm sure, and thank you for the invitation. When you will receive 200 million from Spotify, we can have like Joe Rogan conversations, 3 hours with nonstop.
Yeah.
But yeah, but yeah, I will be looking forward as well, so we can meet probably in person with some more time.
Yeah.
In Arcos Valdevez, probably. Okay.
Or Porto. I mean, I'm always traveling around in the north, so it's perfect. Well, thank you so much. Such a pleasure, and I'll speak to you soon.
Thank you a lot.
Bye-bye.
Good luck. Bye-bye.
Bye. Pedro, thank you so much for the awesome conversation. We really kept it real, and I hope you enjoyed it, guys, as much as I did. This was so insightful, and if you want to implement different projects like the ones that Pedro has implemented in different cities, I will really get in touch with him. All his details are in the show notes, so feel free to learn about how to grow your own food and how to create little gardens in your urban areas. And guys, we're gonna just have to become our own little farmers. And in the meantime, if you like this episode, make sure you are sharing it, reviewing it, and giving us a little bit of help to grow, so we can have amazing speakers carrying on the conversations about holistic health. All right, guys, I'll see you next week. Bye.